basically, purpose of this is just a little bit of framing for the event, a little bit of housekeeping, just some important things you should know, and then, yeah, that's basically it. That's all I have to say. Question, why are we here? And I'm trying to think about this in a slightly bigger picture framing of things. I think this is, in some ways, one of the reasons we're here. I think we're seeing a lot of AI progress right now. We're seeing increasingly, as Vince was talking about, although it's sometimes a little bit hard to distinguish what exactly is meant by an agent, we're seeing the rise of agents. And more generally, we're seeing the rise of kind of sophisticated artificial systems that have their own objectives and are beginning to act autonomously and soon and increasingly to interact with one another. And this kind of makes the issues that we focus on in the field of cooperative AI kind of much more important. So, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was giving like a similar kind of pitch, and I had to really be like, no, agents are a thing. And like at that point, everyone was like, LLMs are nice, and then multi-agent reinforcement learning, that's so 2017, and then this is the thing. And now I'm feeling very vindicated, although not in an especially great way. Agents are kind of much more kind of back on the horizon. And with that comes things that can go wrong. So actually, both of the examples I'm going to give here are 2 of the things that Vince mentioned. So we have instances already where AI systems are used in settings such as markets or military conflicts, where they are almost kind of canonical instances of when agents do not want the same thing. They do not have the same objective. There are kind of selfish incentives at play, and these can escalate and be dangerous. At the same time, I think that a world that is kind of mediated by kind of powerful AI agents that are much better at, say, kind of cooperating than humans could be phenomenal and could be fantastic. So this is a kind of just a parochial example, which is the fact that AI agents might soon kind of play a big role in networks of autonomous vehicles and logistics and kind of all sorts of things, just kind of making everything kind of operate more kind of smoothly and easily and kind of trading off benefits so that kind of maximizing essentially kind of some notion of the social good. Similarly, on a more kind of like a smaller group level, so we had these kind of systemic kind of things like the flash crash and these big kind of networks and so on. This is a nice paper by Mikhail Bakker and colleagues at GDM, where they look at how large language models can help humans with diverse sets of values, objectives, preferences, find consensus and find agreement, so act as kind of mediators or whatever. And so I think there's also, as well as these risks, there's a potential for kind of tremendous upsides. And I guess we as a field and kind of you kind of being part of that field and that community are kind of, these are I think some of the biggest problems that are likely to kind of come up in the coming years and that not enough people are working on. So this is why we run the summer schools, this is why we have all of you here, and I hope this is the problem that you will help to address. Okay, so that's the kind of big picture framing that I sometimes like to give. This is the 3rd summer school. These are photos from the first 2 summer schools. The first one was in London, and the second one was in Santa Cruz. This is the 3rd iteration. And yeah, it's getting slowly bigger. I haven't counted all the people in these photos, like relative to the number of people here, but we're getting slowly bigger, and this is yeah, very gratifying to see. So yeah, again, progress. AI is continuing, and yeah, I think it's sometimes a little bit worrying, a little bit intimidating, and I think these problems are kind of looming larger and larger. But at the same time, the cooperative AI community and the people focused on all of these important challenges is also growing, and I hope will grow to meet the challenge. When I was thinking about the kind of people that we've invited here to talk and like some of the things that are maybe different from this year relative to other years, so I noticed at least some people I recognize as kind of familiar faces from previous summer schools as well. And so when I was thinking about some of the themes that I think are kind of emerging more in this summer school than in previous summer schools, I think one is a focus on some of the kind of real world challenges and getting closer to kind of problems of robustness and security and scalability and these sorts of things. So Vince gave, I think, a really, really nice overview of some of these kind of conceptual foundations for many of the kind of key dynamics that we see play out when we have kind of these strategic artificial agents interacting with one another. But in moving to the real world, we have agents that are kind of, have imperfect recall or whatever it might be, or are kind of, approximate or are learning or are kind of acting at very large scales, or there's huge numbers of them. And I think it's these kinds of things that are starting to kind of hit the real world. And so some of our speakers will be kind of speaking to those sorts of challenges. Another theme that I think we've had kind of represented in this summer school, but not quite as much in previous summer schools, is this theme of AI and democracy. And so there's a couple of different talks that will look at that. But basically the idea is that, or the proposition will be that maybe democracy isn't doing so great right now in some ways. And in general, we're kind of most of the time using these kind of 200, 250-year-old systems to govern nation states, and that we are kind of otherwise kind of involving with 21st century kind of advanced technologies. And so the question is whether we can use some of these more sophisticated advanced technologies to provide a boost to democracy when it is ailing. Okay, my high-level suggestions to you, and I'll go into the first one in a tiny bit more detail afterwards, for this event. First one is be intentional, which is know what you want and go and get it. Talk to people you don't know. I think lots of you do already know some people, at least in the room, and this is really nice, and hopefully it's a little chance for a reunion of some kinds for some of you. But also, I'm sure there are many, many people that you don't know in the room. And so please make the most of that. Again, I'll talk briefly a little bit more about that in a second. And have fun. This is the most important thing. This is the real reason we're all here in some ways. Okay, so now I'll just give an extremely brief overview of the kinds of things that are going on. If you need the schedule at any point, it is in the Google Calendar, it is in the Notion, it has been thrown at you, I think, numbers many times. So if you don't have it, then let us know and we can get to it. But yeah, we have some very nice lecturers, and they'll be doing some office hours afterwards. I really like the summer school because I just basically get to invite all of my favorite researchers to give talks on all of the things that I'm most interested in, and then they say yes. And this is wonderful. So yeah, we've got an amazing set of speakers here that I'm really excited to hear from, and I hope you are too. We'll have poster sessions and lightning talks. So I think one of the things that we've spent a little bit more time on this year compared to past years as well is actually putting more attention on your work as opposed to the work of the people who are standing up on this little podium. So we'll have a couple of poster sessions. This will be coming, there'll be an announcement coming about this later today, but there are 2 poster sessions, and they'll be kind of split half and half. So half the people will be presenting posters in one session, half the posters will be presenting in another session, and there are some people as well that don't have posters, so you'll be able to kind of wander around and get a sense for who's working on what. There'll similarly be an announcement about lightning talks and how to submit suggestions for lightning talks. So yeah, don't worry about that. If you've seen that on the schedule, announcements about that are coming. We'll have a practical session. The practical session will be split into 2 halves. So basically, this is like a little kind of small group kind of exercise to try and actually work out some answers to a problem, or think about that or brainstorm that in a bit more of a kind of careful way. And there'll be 2 kinds. So the first will be on developing or thinking about how to design evaluations for cooperation-relevant kind of propensities, skills, capabilities, behaviors. It's quite challenging. If you see 2 agents running around in the world doing stuff, how do you know which one is being more cooperative? How do you know which one is better exhibiting this skill or capability that might matter, or this propensity that might drive it to cooperate or not cooperate? How do you elicit those sorts of things, and how do you test the extent to which that's the case? It's non-trivial. And so there'll be a kind of a little session on that. Cecilia will be giving a kind of overview of that area and things that we kind of think are important, and then there'll be kind of a group session based on that. The other session will be kind of following on from a talk that Nora will be giving, and I think Nora was in the room. I don't know where she's gone now. Anyway, they have this paper on this idea of gradual disempowerment, which is what this graph represents, which is basically kind of one kind of way that things might go badly wrong is that kind of AI agents end up kind of slowly kind of accruing more and more kind of power and responsibility in the world in a way that never really leads to some kind of big, scary kind of all of a sudden, oh, wow, now we're in trouble. But actually, we kind of look back at things and we're like, oh, we're kind of, humanity is kind of disempowered in this important sense that it kind of wasn't previously. And in that paper, they mostly talk about how this might happen and why it would be bad. And then they spend relatively little time about talking about how we might avoid such outcomes. So that's your job, is solving that problem. And that's one of the other practical sessions we'll be having. And again, there'll be a little bit more guidance about that later in the event. One-on-ones. I think in many ways, the best resource you have available to you at this event are yourselves. I, again, spent last night kind of looking through this big, shiny, nice list of people, and it's really cool. It's really cool. We have like so many people working on so many different things with so many different kind of like backgrounds and skill sets and all sorts of things. So kind of, yeah, invariably, I think for so many of the things that you might be interested in learning more about, I think actually there are, people in this room who, yourselves, participants who have the kind of expertise and the knowledge about so many of the topics that you might be interested in. So I think it's an amazing resource, and you should absolutely make use of it. You should all have a link to this Airtable in this database or whatever. As part of this, there is like a discussion of what people are interested in talking about, what people have experience in, and also a link to book chats with them, and those links should all be live. So do actually take the time, if you haven't already, to look through this, figure out who you might want to chat to, and send them an invitation. Yeah, the norm is just like, don't ask, just send people invites or whatever. This is why the links are there. You can also, of course, grab people during the coffees, grab people during the breaks, dinners, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, have a think about who you might want to chat to, and go and chat to them. OK, another thing we're trying out new this year. Hands up, who knows what polis is? We've got some hands. Nice, great. OK, cool. So for those of you who don't know, polis is a kind of one of these kind of AI for democracy type tools. And in fact, the talk that Audrey Tang will be giving during the summer school will touch on some of those things. So Audrey's really been a pioneer in this space. She was digital minister in Taiwan, where they kind of were one of the kind of first kind of places to really kind of roll these technologies out in a really big way at a kind of national scale. And basically what it is it's a place for you to kind of enter statements about things, and in this case, the things will be cooperative AI, and basically agree or disagree with them. And then there's some kind of like post-processing that goes on for these statements, where it kind of maps out the kind of clusters of disagreement in an attempt to then later kind of find consensus and kind of like trade off the interests of different groups based on what those groups want or think about different things. So the way we're using it is to add statements about cooperative AI that are hopefully a little bit spicy, a little bit divisive. I've seeded them with some ones that I think should be quite good. This is not one of mine, but I think it's a good one nonetheless. Economic incentives will be sufficient to ensure that AI systems cooperate when needed. So these are some kind of like, yeah, big picture kind of like worldview kind of like statements about the field, about the context that the field exists within. And yeah, we'll be kind of revisiting this kind of towards the end of the summer school to see what people think about these various topics. We did this during the retreat, which is the event that just happened previously with a bunch of senior researchers, and it got heated in a good way. And yeah, so we had some interesting statements coming out, and so I hope that we will be able to replicate that here. So yeah, maybe just kind of scan this QR code, look at this shortened link. Yeah, agree, disagree, add your own statements, and do make use of that. I'll probably be pushing this a little bit over the course of the event, and I'll also be posting it in Slack. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what you all think of these various things. OK, so I'm going to pretty much wrap up just very shortly. I'm going to jump in with just a few minor kind of additional details of other things that are going on. So we have a project wall outside where this is another way, basically, just a kind of acting as a little bit of a coordination device of like how can you find the people that you want to talk to? There are many people in this room. It's going to be annoying for you to walk around everyone and ask what they want to talk about or what they're interested in. So we have shortcutted that by having this very high-tech technology of a poster board with some paper and pens and things on it. And you can write about kind of projects or topics you're interested in and then find those people that way as well. So do make use of that. That's just one more kind of mechanism to kind of coordinate with one another and find interesting people. Cecilia and/or Jesse Clifton, who also is a kind of current trustee at the Cooperative AI Foundation and worked here previously, will be running some kind of discussions on kind of like career feedback and project feedback in the context of like our roles at the Cooperative AI Foundation and how we tend to think about things. So yeah, those will be going on as well. There'll be kind of dinners you'll have already seen in the calendar, and yeah, Michelle will maybe talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but again, we'll be posting about that in the Slack. And then, yeah, plenty of time, I hope, for kind of additional social activities, relaxing more generally. There's a pool, there's a sauna. These are all good things. There's a hot tub. I did toy with the idea of maybe seeing if I could host my office hours in the hot tub. I think I'm not going to be allowed to do that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you posted about that. Maybe people will turn up that way. I don't know. More generally, if you have things that you want to do, if you have activities that you want to, I want to play this board game. I want to like go on a walk. In the Notion, there are some nice guides. There's a lake thing that way. There's a river thing that way. It's going to be sunny for once in the UK in summer. Please make the most of this. Spend some time outside. I like walking and talking. I tend to take most of my one-on-ones on walks. I recommend it. Yeah, if you want to do other things or if you want to self-organize, feel free to just drop stuff in the Slack. And propose things. Yeah, try not to do it when talks are happening. But other than that, just suggest things, find people, have fun. That's what it's all about. And as if anticipating my every move, there are, these faces, these lovely, happy, shining, smiley faces are people who work for the Cooperative AI Foundation and people you can come and talk to and ask questions to and provide feedback to. And yeah, we are here essentially to try and provide you with the best, most enjoyable, most valuable event that we possibly can. And you can help us to do that by telling us how we can do that. So yeah, check the Notion, ask in Slack, ask in person. There's an anonymous feedback form as well, as Michelle mentioned. And yeah, do keep us posted. OK, so I think now this is my like final thing before the break. And actually, I'm sorry, I actually kind of have taken up more of time than I was expecting. So apologies for that. But I started the little presentation by asking like, why are we here collectively? Next question is, why are you here? If you came to the previous summer school, you'll have seen me force people to do this before, and it worked really well, so I'm going to do it again. I started as well by saying my kind of main suggestion to you was to be intentional and to be focused. And I think basically what that means is kind of thinking carefully about actually what you want to get personally out of the next few days. So do you want to find new collaborators for a particular project? Do you want to learn about a specific topic? Do you want to get feedback on one of your ideas? Do you want to inform people about an interesting direction that you have heard about or that you are excited about? All of these things are things that you might want to do. And so I'm going to encourage you, and by encourage I mean stand here and wait until you do it, to write down what specifically you want out of the event and how concretely you're going to get it. So it's nice to say like, oh, find new collaborators for the project, but like, how are you going to do that? Okay, recommendation. Maybe you go on the database. Maybe you Control F. Maybe you like look for some keywords of the things that people are working on. Maybe you go and talk to one of the speakers in the office hours and figure out who's working on it there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start a timer. And so your 2 minutes starts now. No pressure. All right, I can see that some people are still writing and still thinking. So yeah, if you haven't finished writing and thinking, then you should feel free to do that while I'm talking. I will not be offended. And also, we're going into the break now, so if you just want to finish writing things down or thinking about things or figuring out things, then you should do that then. Yes, I think it's hard to overstate how much I strongly encourage you to do this. I have been to so many events and like this, like workshops, summer schools, conferences, whatever. And it's so easy just to turn up and be kind of tired and kind of just like, I don't know, you're just here to have like a good time and just learn stuff and just float through, and that's really nice. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, I had a nice time, but like, what did I actually learn? What did I actually get out of it? Yeah, it's a very easy thing to do, is just to be passive. And I would encourage you not to be passive. I would encourage you to be active. It's going to be a bit tiring, and this is just the nature of these things. But yeah, there's so many amazing people surrounding you, and there's so many fantastic speakers and things to hear from and listen to and participate in. And so yeah, do those things.